Hi, it's Jamie with Jamie's Arts a la Cartes. Thank you very much for joining me. I have a fun project planned for us today. I hope this video inspires you to create something of your own. If you would, hit the like button and share the video with your friends. That helps me to grow this channel and to continue to bring you new projects. If you haven't subscribed yet, would you please consider subscribing? And if you have, thank you very much. Well, we have a lot to do, so let's get to it. Okay, so I have lightly sanded the sculpture and gave it a good cleaning. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a flat white paint to the surface. And it's just basically to give it an even kind of foundation. And being flat, that'll help other colors to stick to it. So we'll get the white on there, and then we'll build up the other colors. This is just sort of like laying a foundation. And I'm not going super heavy. I'm actually going pretty light. Right, I think we got our first coat on there. I'm going to let it dry really well, and I want to see if any of those colors bleed through. And if they don't, then I can go on and start figuring out my color scheme. If they do, then I'll just simply put another coat on there and then move on. All right, once this is dry, I'll come back to you. All right. We've got our base coat on, it's all dry. And now I'm going to work on these mangroves. And I'm just going to mix a couple colors till I get the color that I really want. I'm using some dark browns. I'm just going to mix them. I'm going to mix them right in my tub. Only because I'm going to use a lot of it. I'm going to over mix what I think I need so that I don't have to try to match that color again. I can put the lid on there and it should stay fine. So something like that. And I am using things that'll end up drying with like a flat finish, because I am going to spray this with like a Rust-Oleum. It lives on our porch. But it's a covered porch. So I'm just basically trying to get color on there. This is going to need multiple coats and colors, so that's why I'm starting here first. We have our brown coat on, and according to my picture and my research, these little nodules have like a white halo around them, and then like a lighter, like a goldenrod kind of color in the center. So what I'm going to do to mimic that and make it blend the best possible, I've got my base on there. Now I'm going to go around to the little bloops ups, which this sculpture is wonderful at mimicking, and I'm just going to sort of do a thin around these little bumps. And then come back in and put the top center color on. I'm not trying to make it exact, but just look kind of realistic. I even have a sponge that I could come back and sort of model the edges around, meaning I can just make it not so such a sharp line. And then if I need to, I can come back in and add some brown in there. So maybe let's do a section at a time, because this being flat paint, it's going to dry kind of quick. There are our mangroves. Pretty pleased with how those turned out. So now what I want to work on is that first we're going to start the fish. I mixed a little bit of metallic silver and white, and I'm just trying to get like a metallic color for their underbellies. So I'm just mixing it right here on my plastic. All right, I'm going to pull this over. I'm going to put a little bit more silver in there. I'm just going to keep mixing it till I get the color that I think will look good. I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do is, according to my picture, it just sort of is from tail. It's this lower part underneath this fin up to here. So we're just going to paint this silver. And the fins have a red color to them. I think I see something behind this, so you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this whole fish silver, because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put red on top of it. I'm going to put two colors of red, so one that's kind of muted down. If I get it on my mangroves, I can go back with a very you know, like a fine tip brush. So what I'm trying to do is get this, because what I want it underneath those scales right there. I think that'll give it a nice little depth of color. Okay, so there. So now we're going to mix up some more silver for our other, just the belly. I think it looks like it's here. This looks pretty light, and maybe just on top of that little fin right there. So something like this area. I'm just mixing it up. All right. So again, we've got our little mouths. Spread it out so we don't have a line. Make sure we get all of this. All right, we'll let this coat dry, and then we'll come in with the next color. All right, our paint is dry. So now we're going to start adding details to our larger fish up here. I'm going to take this yellow. It's kind of like a goldenrod yellow. And here's the fins. Should have this color. We're going to be adding multiple layers from this point out. But we'll lay down this first color. We have that area done. We got all our little fins painted. And now I want to add, it looks like there is a little bit of gold up at the top and gets lighter as it goes down. So we'll put gold up here, and then we'll add maybe a darker brown at the very top. And then we're going to outline these. We're going to add more to that as well, to the fin areas. So let's see how we are going to do this. I think I want to take this and kind of something like that, something that line's going to get painted black, because that's like a little divider it has, the little fish has on it. I want some of those scales to come through. This is just a little tiny piece of sponge I have on hand. right, something like that. Put our sponge down. Cap all these that we're not using, and I'm going to come in here and feather in the dark low light for these little ridges. So we're going to use this color that we created. I'm going to use a tiny little brush. Just trying to hit the top of the ridge. Fade the color down just a little bit. Put the color on there, and then we'll start blending. Alright, I am going to now paint this line down this fish. These fins. These are a mixture of like a red and a yellow. So we will mix up a color we can use. take this brick red, some of this goldenrod yellow. Again, we're just going to get that base color, but let's get some of this mixed up. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I think that'll work. I'm going for something like that. Actually, I think it needs a little more yellow now that I put it on there. That's a little better. Let's see. Yeah. This fish has a lot of red on it. Alright, we'll get this painted and let it dry, and then we'll figure out our next step. Alright, we can add our little textures and highlights, lowlights to our fins over here. Okay, so what that means is we're going to add some dark to the lines like we did here, and then white on the, more on the grooves. So actually, you know, I think we're going to start, let's start there. I'm going to add some white in the recesses. this back here, it's sort of like a mottled. By that I mean like just like this, but with way less paint. So something like that. This whole body, right about down to there, all the way down his tail. That one. We're going to let it dry, and then we're going to put some silver in here and on the bottom. Same kind of style. Now what I want to do is clean out my brush, and I'm going to add some blue in here, and then let it dry, and then put silver over it. I'm going to use this real bright blue. Again, I want to just have a hint of color. body done up here. I'm going to add some silver down in here. And then we're going to also put a silver base on our little tiny fish. I see a little spot I want to touch up here. Let me see. I need to get some of that off. Yeah, right there. All the different little angles. So I'm just going to pounce. Pretty nice. All right, so now I'm going to flip these all the way around, and I want to paint these little fish. I'm going to give them a base coat of silver. Still have a few little details on these big fish, like the eye. I got to get the eye on there. I see a spot I missed in his mouth. So I try to look all the way around it so I can catch that. Alright, so then we're just going to give it like this kind of technique. These are pretty simple. These are just really like silver and a yellow and a blue on there. And we'll put little black dots for eyeballs at the very, very end. These are a much rougher texture than the other fish. this set and dry good, and then put the finishing details on here. Alright, I went ahead and added some details. Added a little dot in the back. The big fish have their eyes. And then we got all the little ones added on there. So I'm going to let this set overnight. And then I'm going to put a Rust-Oleum clear coat on it. I'll probably put 2 on there. And then I'll give you a final picture. My husband said he likes it, so we're going to call this one a success. Well, there we are. We've got it all painted. We sprayed that matte finish Rust-Oleum clear on it. And this is the wall in the hallway that it hangs. So they go well together. I love all the detail. I'm going to paint that little screw head up there. We'll paint it to match the mangroves. But there we are. I've never done anything quite like that. We've done similar things, but wow. I had to sort of learn, the new part was I had to sort of learn what these fish and the mangroves actually looked like. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, would you please consider subscribing? And until next time, happy crafting!